How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 39. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate everybody coming back and listening. If this is your first time, welcome. This podcast is really just about me giving my opinions, thoughts, pros and cons, and really answering the deep question, which is a movie that I just saw timeless? Meaning, can I see myself in the future watching it over and over and over again? Probably ridiculous to think about that after watching a movie once, but hey, I thought it would be a kind of funny concept to do, and here I am already 39 episodes in. On this episode, specifically, we're going to be talking about the newest DC film, and it's going to be Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So a lot of things have kind of been coming up about DC. It's now headed by, two new leads for the specific film and TV operations, which is a name that, a lot of people might know as James Gunn. And there's also another co-CEO named Peter Safran. And so both of them are kind of leading this effort, and they're actually introducing a new DC universe that will be taking place after this year. However, they kept Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I believe they also kept Flash in that film. And then there also is one more, I believe it's Aquaman. And so after those three films kind of play out, then you're going to start seeing new films introduced, like a new Superman, a new Batman, and all this different stuff. So this kind of leads me into the first segment, which I kind of like to talk about some of my questions before actually watching the movie, kind of get my general thoughts and a good sense as to what's going to really play out in this film. And the first one is, how does this Shazam! Fury of the Gods tie into the new DCU that James Gunn and Peter Safran are beginning to establish? How is this going to connect? Is it going to reference? Obviously, it's going to be very tough considering that this film was probably filmed, shot, and edited way before, they actually announced that James Gunn and Peter Safran were going to be establishing a new DCU. But there had to have been a reason as to why they kept it. They maybe wanted to keep the character Shazam. They wanted to keep Zachary Levi as this, character to kind of play out into their new universe that they're setting up. Maybe he plays a bigger part in whatever Justice League movie they might set up, whatever that might be. So that was probably going to be my main question is, how does this film tie into the new universe that they're setting up? Does it have any reference point? Does it have an after credit scene that might explain where this character is going down in this new universe? So really just a thought about that. And I'm assuming that a lot of other fans that, might be really big into superhero films or big into DC as well, they might also be curious about the same thing. Second item that I really wanted to cover about my thoughts on Shazam! Fury of the Gods is, how would Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu perform as the villains in this universe? To me, I was really surprised hearing both of those names. Helen Mirren, again, coming out in a lot of great cinema in the past as well. And obviously Lucy Liu being known for different types of performances that she had in the past as well. But neither one is, again, maybe from my recollection, I could be completely way off, but I don't remember either one of them taking on specific roles as these kind of like supervillains, right? And so how would that kind of stack up, right? Like, would it just kind of be like it's like an okay performance, or would they put all of their specific type of talent and show that, like, hey, we can make these villains very different from, specific villains that you've seen in other Marvel or DC type of films. We can kind of put a different spin on it. And so I'm very curious, to see how Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu will play off of each other, how they'll play off of Zachary Levi, because, these Shazam films are typically comedy type of films, right? They have a lot of jokes, a lot of things thrown at the audience to kind of make them laugh. And so again, are these really going to be the characters that would, try to balance off the jokes and keep it very serious, or will they also have funny scenes as well? So definitely kind of curious to see how Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu would perform as the villains and the antagonists of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And then last but not least, my final question before I end up going and watching the movie is, will there be another Justice League member cameo? I had heard rumors that there was probably going to be a specific Justice League member appearing, very similar to the end of the first Shazam, which had a kind of like if you could call it a Superman cameo. They never really showed Superman's face. They never showed Henry Cavill at the time as Superman. They just kind of see the body of Superman in his Superman suit, and he's just kind of walking into the cafeteria where Billy Batson lives at the moment. other than that, they didn't really show any other details. So I'm kind of curious, are they going to do the same kind of joke and kind of not show the individual's face, whoever that character might be, considering that Shazam in the trailers kind of calls out by name the other Justice League members. He calls out the Flash, Aquaman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all these different characters. And so very interested to see if they would slip in another cameo in that nature, or maybe even take it another level and show their face as well. So those are my questions before actually diving into some of the details of the movie. Okay, sweet. Well, now that I've actually gotten a chance to take a look and watch the movie, now I want to give you guys my overall thoughts, if I would recommend watching it in theaters, my pros and cons, and kind of give you a good sense as to what the movie was really about as well. Overall thoughts, I thought the movie was pretty good. It had its moments where, again, different types of jokes and Zachary Levi kind of, playing a really upbeat type of character in Shazam. The CGI I thought was pretty good as well. There was the specific dragon, I think they show it in the trailer, but this dragon looks so realistic. It was kind of made out of bark of a tree. Super cool as well. I'll be honest though, I don't think it exceeds the first Shazam. I thought the first Shazam, probably because of my low expectations, I didn't expect that movie to be good, and it actually was really funny. It was really well thought out of a story, and again, it just made me kind of appreciate, like, hey, look, we got another character. It doesn't always have to be Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. It can be these other characters that you may not have thought of, like Shazam. Let me jump into some of my pros, though, and then I'll kind of lead into some of my cons, and then, again, kind of giving my overall recommendation, whether you should watch it in theaters or not. But for some of my pros, I got to call out Helen Mirren as the daughter of Atlas. Her name was Hesperia. That she did really good. Again, I'm not surprised. Helen Mirren is a great actress. She always kind of gives really good types of performances. And again, considering that this is more of, like, again, a superhero film, I know that it's not type of cinema that you would expect to kind of give off really great performances, but I mean, Helen Mirren just did a great job. She took it, with the utmost respect of it, I guess. And she played off very serious, but even she had her own kind of funny moments, but it wasn't over the top. It wasn't silly. You could see that, hey, this character is some type of a god, a deity. She has this type of power, and all she wants. And there's actually, what I loved about it is that there was actual conflict for her character. You could see it in her performance that, yes, she could easily destroy all these humans, but all she wants is to get her city back as well. And so it was a great performance for me. I really enjoyed Helen Mirren in this movie. And again, it just showed, again, one of the questions that I had before. How would she really perform? Like, would it be a good balance off of Zachary Levi? And I thought it matched up really well. Speaking of Zachary Levi, he's also one of my other pros. Shazam is just awesome as always. He's really that funny kind of feeling that you get every time you see him on screen. It kind of gives me like a vibe of, I don't know if this will really kind of match up in the analogy that I'm trying to make, but every time I saw Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder, it's just because of how he kind of has been portrayed in, like, Infinity War, Endgame, and now Thor: Love and Thunder, he just became a more of a hilarious character. Some people might not like that. I did. I appreciated that they kind of changed his character from being so serious and then made him more of like a character that made some jokes and different types of references. And so that's kind of what I get the feeling of for Zachary Levi as well. Every time his character Shazam comes out, it's just something, I know that he's going to say something ridiculous. And again, he does a really great job as playing, even though he is an adult, Zachary Levi, he's trying to play the mentality of a 17-year-old. He's still a kid. He hasn't grown up. And so he relays those types of messages, and his delivery of those lines in the movie is such a great time. So I really appreciated Zachary Levi again as Shazam, and definitely a pro for this movie. Another one of my pros is we actually got to see a little tag team in the middle of the movie, tag team between Freddy and the Wizard. Freddy, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, and the Wizard, played by Jimon Hunsu. I hope I'm saying his name right. It was really fun to watch. They ended up getting stuck in a jail cell together, and how Freddy is played by Jack Dylan Grazer, always kind of active, like saying a bunch of jokes, like all these different types of inappropriate things, and then you have the Wizard, who's just like, again, tired of being there. He kind of even says that he wishes he was dead and not having to kind of live the rest of his life in a cell. And just that kind of tag team of both of these characters that you would never expect to kind of have some kind of screen time. actually made it really enjoyable for me. Again, I could definitely see how Freddy's character could be annoying just because of all the things that he's saying. But to me, I just found it hilarious. So really like that pairing of those two, of Freddy and the Wizard as well. Last pro on my side is the visuals. I mentioned it before, but some of the destruction that they had in Philadelphia, which the film kind of took place, there was this awesome dragon that I had mentioned before. That again, it just visually looks so realistic. Anytime it kind of would open its mouth and would scream when it was flying around the city, again, it made it really cool to watch. And there was never any moments where I felt like, it doesn't look that real, or it doesn't really match with what's going on the screen. I never felt that when I was at least watching the dragon and other types of visuals as well. So really good stuff, especially when a lot of the Shazam family flies. All that visual effects of them flying around and kind of saving people. It all looked pretty clean to me as well. Again, I'm not a VFX artist in any kind of way, but again, I couldn't tell, so I guess it did its job for me. Okay, now that I've kind of talked about some of my pros, I want to move over to some of the cons. I'll be honest, even though I did find that the movie was pretty funny, there were definitely some jokes that were hit and miss for me. Now, that's definitely a subjective thing. Again, comedy can hit people in different ways. Some jokes, again, are hilarious for some people, and for some, it just kind of goes over their head or just kind of brushes it off, right? But to me, some of them are just were again, just didn't hit with me that as well. And I think it's, again, me comparing to the first film where, most of the jokes, it just worked so well. It landed for me. Every joke that they kind of called out, was, at least it got me to laugh out loud or got me to kind of chuckle. Here, there was some that were, again, pretty hilarious by Zachary Levi's Shazam. And then there was other ones by other characters of the Shazam family where, it didn't really work for me that much. And so I would say, again, the comedy, in my opinion, just didn't hit in a good mark as the first film did. So I didn't think it was as funny. One of the other thoughts and cons that I had that kind of made me really drop my rating about the film was the different type of story arcs that were taking place at the same time. Now, again, this could be just a nitpick on my side, but what we see in the film is basically different story arcs kind of taking place all at once. We have one where Billy is kind of contemplating whether he deserves or is worthy of the powers of Shazam. Then you have Billy not wanting to let go of his family. He wants to always be, all for one or none for all. Either we all become superheroes and save the day, or nobody saves the day. Then you have Billy not wanting to call his foster mom. And then, it's like this feeling of, well, I think I'm going to get kicked out, or, after I hit 18, I can't become, can't be part of this foster family anymore, and I have to look for something else. And so there was it was a lot of good arcs, but I feel like there wasn't really a focus on one specific one. Sometimes you would see little details of like, okay, I'm not worthy, or I feel like I gotta, I need to rely on my family because I'm not confident in this. And so I just kind of wish that there was just maybe one or two that were really focused all the way through, whether that was Billy dealing with his mom or his foster mom, and him not feeling that comfortableness of, can I rely on her that like she won't kick me out after I turn 18? Like, will I still be a part of the family? Or if it was not letting go of his family and always wanting to be with them, show more of the friction, I guess, between the family. There was some friction between some of the superhero Shazam family members, but not too much. They were still very much connected. But I just wish that there was more focus on some of the story arcs so that they can kind of complete from beginning to end. I just didn't feel like there was much of a connection because they was just kind of going all over the place. Last but not least, the con for me that really kind of bugged me was the end. I will say, spoiler warning here for anybody that has not seen Shazam Fury of the Gods, because I will be spoiling an aspect of the movie. So again, if you haven't seen it, feel free to skip a couple minutes or like this video so that you can kind of, again, watch it later on after you do see this film. Okay, hopefully that gave you guys enough time, but the spoiler is that at the end of the third act, you kind of have a point where Shazam saves the day. He ends up saving his family, but at the expense of him having to sacrifice his life. And so he actually ends up dying. I thought that was really cool. I thought, like, wow, okay, can you really keep a character like Shazam, can you really kill him off in his own movie? And this is kind of where my mind started thinking about the question that I asked at the beginning, which was, how does this tie into the DCU? oh, okay, does that mean that again, maybe we're in this universe's, of the DC, maybe in this universe they lose their Shazam, but we might get another Shazam in a different multiverse, and maybe that gets explained in the Flash. So I thought, wow, that's so cool, because then again it shows the risk, it shows the stakes of what needs to be done in order to become a superhero. And then all of a sudden at the end of the movie, you have the cameo that I was talking about. You actually have a Justice League member come out of nowhere. Wonder Woman comes in. She has the power of a deity, and she actually has the power to put, this some type of a magic back in a staff that was kind of being talked about throughout the film. And she's able to basically revive Shazam. And so I felt like it was a very cheap kind of way to kind of do that in the movie. If you know that you're not going to kill off Shazam, I'd much rather you not even show him dying. Like, I just have him be super, like, either hurt or very badly damaged. Take away his powers if you want. Do whatever. But don't show him dying and then all of a sudden, come back and then, he's easily revived. I didn't really like that at all. And again, I know that people are probably thinking the opposite of me. It's like, well, I thought it was cool that they don't kill off the main character. Again, it makes sense. Why would you kill off Shazam if this is his own movie? But I would have loved that would have been the concept to kind of go through, because then that would have made you feel like, holy crap, it's different from other superhero movies where the superhero always wins. Yes, he did win because he saved his city, he saved his family, but at what cost? The cost of his life. And that would have been a great message, and then kind of leading into the new DC universe. But again, they kind of went a different direction. Again, that's maybe just my expectations of kind of what I would want for a movie. But I actually thought that, again, that's like a nitpick on my side. Thought it was a con. If you know that he's just going to come back and survive, then just don't kill him. Don't do a fake death, right? Just kind of make him badly hurt in some type of way as well. All right, well, final thoughts. Again, those are my pros and cons. I thought that the movie was a good time, but to be quite honest, if somebody were to ask me like, hey, would you recommend watching it in theaters or should I wait for streaming? I would actually prefer you guys just wait for streaming. Not anything spectacular that came out of this film. The after credit scenes were cool, but nothing too crazy. Again, those are just my opinions. If you love the movie, then you would always, and you feel like it's better to recommend to folks, then definitely go for it. Again, just for me, any kind of friends or family members that ask me, I'll probably just tell them like, hey, you could probably wait for it on streaming. You don't really need to go to the theaters. Again, it's not anything special. You don't have to run to it to see some type of special scene or cameo. Definitely something that you can wait for as well. Okay, everyone, now moving on to the next segment, which is my favorite performance of the film. So for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, my favorite performance was Helen Mirren. I mentioned it in my overall thoughts, but I thought that she did really well to portray some type of a menacing villain where, again, Hespera really wanted to just get the power of the gods back in her control and really create a new city on Earth as well. But what I loved most is that, again, she had conflicts with other characters, even her own sisters in Lucy Liu, who played Calypso, or Rachel Zegler's character, who played Anthea. And so there was always conflict, even though like you would typically see like when there's super villains in these types of movies, you feel like, oh, okay, they're always going to kind of be on the same page. But no, they were on different pages. And then at the end, Hespera actually even helps out Shazam in order to, again, she notices that Calypso ends up really turning way much into the dark side. She goes way too far with what her plans are. And so she has no other choice but to combat her sister and help out Shazam. And so, again, it was a nice little balance considering that Shazam was, and the Shazam family are always kind of telling jokes and funny moments. And then when it kind of flips over to Helen Mirren's Hespera, you then see kind of like a very brooding character. You see a character that, again, has a mission, one mission on her mind, and she has to complete it. And so, really good stuff. Again, I really enjoyed Helen Mirren. And I was, again, one of the things and thoughts that I had before watching the movie was, how was her character going to play out? Was it going to be just way too serious and boring? But not at all. She even had some fight scenes. It was a lot of fun. So, definitely enjoyed Helen Mirren's performance in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Okay, moving on to the next part, which is my favorite scene or moment of the film. So once again, spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen the movie yet. I'm going to be spoiling a specific scene and part of the film. So hopefully that's enough time. But my favorite scene in the movie involves the characters of Freddy and the Wizard. I mentioned this again in one of my pros, but there was a specific part in about maybe like the second act of the movie where the Wizard and Freddy are actually trapped in a cell by the Daughters of Atlas in Hespera and Calypso. And then you basically get to see how frustrated the Wizard is with Freddy, how he constantly talks. Freddy even mentions like, hey man, you're a wizard. Don't you know any potions? Don't you know any magic that you can kind of get us out of the cell? And then you can just see the Wizard kind of roll his eyes and be like, I can't believe that I have to, live the rest of my life stuck in a cell with this kid rather than just dying. And then there's even points where the Wizard even mocks him like that. It's like, do you know any potions? And like, it was just like hilarious, like that specific part. And that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Again, it's just two characters that are so widely different and then kind of paired up and have screen time together that by the end of the film, you kind of want like, oh man, I want to see more of these two together. There's even funny parts where like the Wizard purposefully, he knows that his name, the character's name is Freddy, but he purposely says a different name. Like he calls him Jeff like multiple times. And so it's just super funny. So I really enjoyed that part. But guys, let me know. What are your thoughts on Shazam! Fury of the Gods? Did you like that scene or what were your favorite scenes in the movie? Let me know down below in the comments. Definitely want to hear what your thoughts were on Shazam. All right, everyone. This is now the final segment of the Timeless Movie Podcast, where I decide whether Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a timeless movie. For me, at this moment, the Shazam! Fury of the Gods does have a lot of good parts. It does have, again, really good performances from characters that I really like. Obviously, a lot of cons where, again, story arcs going all over the place, and really just, certain decisions that were made in the film. So for me, this film is not timeless. Again, there's not really anything that kind of stands out besides some of those comedic moments where it's Freddy and the Wizard or Shazam or Hespera. But other than that, there was nothing really that stood out to me that kind of made me go, you know what? I want to rewatch this again, or I need to go back to the theaters and watch it with my friends and do this. I didn't feel that. After I watched it, I was like, okay, just another DC movie. Wasn't better than the original, or not the original, but better than the first. So it kind of just, again, leaves you with more questions as to, well, where does this go? There was an after credit scene that kind of explained a little bit about what could be the future of Shazam, but how does it connect to overall to the DCU? How does it connect to all these other movies that might be coming out in the future? So once again, not a bad movie at all. I still really enjoyed it. Again, I had a good time. Don't regret going to the theaters and watching it. But again, my recommendation is if, you don't have to go to the theaters, you can definitely wait for it on streaming. But for me, in my personal opinion, I do not find Shazam! Fury of the Gods to be a timeless movie. There's definitely other movies that I would rather watch, especially in the superhero genre where there are vast amount of movies to choose from. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming and listening to another episode. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 39 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week's podcast, episode number 40, where we're going to be talking about the new entry to the John Wick franchise, John Wick Chapter 4. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you later.